The first alarm of the day begins at 04:12 station time, which is impressive because there is technically no day anymore. Daniel rolls over in his narrow bunk and stares at the ceiling while the siren bleats with all the dignity of a distressed goat. "I hear you," he mutters. "We're all dying. Some of us would like coffee first." The alarm does not appreciate sarcasm. It escalates. He swings his legs over the side of the bed and taps the wall console. The screen flickers, considers retirement, then displays a list of failures so long it requires scrolling. Oxygen recyclers at 63% efficiency. Hydroponics reporting fungal overgrowth again. Reactor output fluctuating like a nervous heartbeat. "Bernard," Daniel says, rubbing his eyes. "What did we talk about?" The reactor does not answer, but a secondary warning flashes in red. He sighs, pulls on his boots, and heads into the corridor, which hums with the thin, tired vibration of machinery that has worked beyond its contract. The colony was designed for 8,000 people. It now houses one human, 3 semi-functional maintenance drones, and an impressive civilization of dust. Daniel passes a viewport and pauses. The star fills more of the sky than it did last week. It has the swollen look of something about to confess a terrible secret. "Don't you dare," he tells it. In the reactor chamber, Bernard greets him with another tremor. Daniel pats the metal housing as if soothing an anxious pet. "Easy. We are professionals, we have degrees. Well, I do, you have bolts." He opens the diagnostic interface and begins rerouting power through auxiliary conduits. The holographic display shimmers with quantum flow patterns, bright threads of plasma dancing through magnetic fields. For a moment it almost looks beautiful, then a conduit overheats and a plume of smoke curls toward the ceiling. "Drama," Daniel mutters, grabbing a toolkit. "Always drama." An hour later, the reactor stabilizes into a reluctant purr. Daniel leans against the railing, sweaty and triumphant. He records a maintenance log. Day 209 since evacuation. Reactor core remains operational, albeit resentful. If anyone finds this log, please send coffee or a medal, preferably both. He clicks the recorder off and listens to the silence that follows. It presses against him, thick and patient. The second alarm is different. It doesn't wail. It whispers. A soft pulse vibrates through the floor, subtle enough that he thinks at first it is his imagination. Then the outer sensor grid lights up in a slow cascade of blue. Daniel straightens. "We do not have visitors," he informs the empty room. The console projects an exterior feed. Beyond the radiation shield, just outside the dome's perimeter, something stands. He leans closer to the display. It is a woman. She stands on the barren platform as if gravity were optional. No suit, no visible equipment. The vacuum does nothing to her. She looks human, dark hair drifting gently despite the absence of air, posture calm, gaze lifted toward the dome. Then she tilts her head and he sees her ears. They are long, elegantly tapered, extending in smooth arcs past her jaw. They are not grotesque. They are precise. Intentional, they move slightly, adjusting as though tuning to a signal he cannot hear. Daniel blinks. "All right," he says slowly. "Either I've finally cracked under the pressure, or we've upgraded the hallucinations to full resolution." The station's AI, which he renamed Gloria to make it feel less like a coffin, responds. No record of psychological break detected, Daniel. "Give it time." The woman raises her hand. The outer shield flickers. Daniel's stomach drops. "Oh no, absolutely not." The flicker stabilizes. The shield's energy output increases by 3% without any command from him. The console scrolls with data he did not authorize. External interference, unknown source, harmonic alignment achieved. Harmonic alignment. He repeats, "With what?" A voice answers. It does not come from the speakers. It arrives directly inside his helmet's comm channel, clear and composed. "You appear to be experiencing infrastructural decline." Daniel freezes. "That is the most polite way anyone has ever told me I'm failing." The woman's lips curve slightly as if she can hear him without audio. Her voice continues. "My name is Vales. I apologize for the intrusion. Your reactor core is unstable." "I am aware of Bernard's personality flaws," Daniel says. "We're in counseling." The reactor output spikes. On the screen, Vales lowers her hand. The spike smooths into a steady line. The tremor in the floor fades. Daniel stares at the data. "What did you just do?" "A minor recalibration. Your magnetic containment field was misaligned by 0.4 degrees." He swallows. "That is not a minor thing. Your species built admirable machinery. It simply lacks refinement." "Rude." he says automatically, though his heart is hammering. She steps closer to the dome. Her face is unmistakably human in structure, eyes steady, mouth composed. But those long ears frame her features like silver crescents. They shift again, subtle, alive. "You are alone," she says. "That is an observational skill," Daniel replies. "Do you also deduce that I need a haircut?" A pause, yes. He laughs before he can stop himself. The sound echoes too loudly in the empty chamber. "Okay," he says, running a hand through his hair. "Mysterious space woman with advanced engineering skills. Let's assume I'm not hallucinating. Why are you here?" Valise looks past him toward the heart of the station as if she can see through layers of alloy and vacuum. "Your star is entering terminal expansion. This colony will not survive." "Trust me," Daniel says quietly. "I've noticed." "I can help you." The words settle in the air between them. Daniel crosses his arms. "Define help." She meets his gaze directly. There is no flicker of malice, no visible weapon, no fleet descending from the darkness. Just her standing impossibly in the void. "I can stabilize your systems. I can shield you from the stellar surge. I can ensure your survival." He exhales slowly. "And what?" he asks, because experience has taught him that the universe never offers free repairs. "Do you get out of it?" Valise studies him for a long moment, her elongated ears tilting as though catching distant music. "That," she says gently, "is a longer conversation." Daniel does not invite her inside. He tells himself this several times while standing in the airlock, staring at the outer hatch controls. "We do not open doors to strangers in space," he says firmly. "That is Rule 1, possibly Rule 0. Valise stands beyond the transparent barrier, unaffected by vacuum, radiation, or his anxiety. Her elongated ears tilt slightly, as if adjusting to the rhythm of his pulse. "You are aware I do not require the door," she says into his calm. "That is not comforting. Nevertheless, I prefer consent." He hesitates, then cycles the chamber. If she intended harm, she has already demonstrated she could dismantle his reactor like a child taking apart a toy. The inner hatch slides open with a tired sigh. She steps inside without a suit. The chamber's atmosphere equalizes. She inhales once, experimentally. "Your air composition is acceptable," she says. "Thank you." "We try to keep the nitrogen artisanal." They stand facing each other in the narrow corridor. Up close, she looks even more human, skin warm-toned, eyes focused, expression composed. But those long, tapered ears arc elegantly past her jaw, fine filaments along their edges shimmering faintly as though reading invisible currents. Daniel gestures toward the control room. "If you're going to announce the end of my species, at least sit down." They settle across from one another. Gloria's holographic interface hovers between them, projecting reactor metrics that are, for the first time in months, stable. "You wish to know what I gain," Valise says. "I am a simple man. I enjoy transparency and breathable air." She inclines her head. "My people are called the Elari. We traverse stellar systems not with engines, but with resonance. We align our biology with gravitational harmonics and move through folded space." Daniel blinks. "So, you're telling me you commute by tuning yourself to the universe?" A simplified explanation. "Of course. I once simplified taxes. It ended badly." A flicker touches her eyes. "Amusement, perhaps. Your colony cannot be saved in its current configuration," she continues. "Your star's expansion will overwhelm your shielding. Your reactor will fail within 43 cycles." 43? He checks the display. "That's oddly specific." Precision is comforting. "It is not," he says flatly. Silence settles, not hostile but weighted. "I can preserve you," she says at last. "Preserve me," he repeats carefully. "As in freeze-dry, jar on a shelf, human vintage edition. As in integrate you into my species." The words do not explode, they sink. He leans back slowly. "Integrate." "Yes, define integrate." Your cellular structure would be rewritten. Nanoscopic symbionts would restructure your neural lattice. Your sensory range would expand. Your lifespan would extend significantly. "And my ears?" he asks before he can stop himself. A pause, they would lengthen. He stares at her. "Of course they would. It is a functional adaptation." "I'm sure it is, very aerodynamic." "You would no longer be biologically human," she finishes. The reactor hum fills the space between them. Daniel rubs his face. "So your offer is survival, small side effect, total existential overhaul." "Correct. And there's no option B where you just fix everything and leave me dramatically waving as you disappear into a wormhole." "No, figures." He stands and begins pacing. You can't save the colony. The energy required to shield this structure exceeds acceptable thresholds. I can stabilize it temporarily, long enough for transformation. Transformation, he echoes. You make it sound like a spa treatment. It is not painless. Good, I was worried it might be relaxing. Valles watches him without flinching. You fear loss of identity. I fear a lot of things, he replies. Exploding stars, loneliness, becoming an alien with better hearing than personality. Your personality would remain. How do you know? Because I would not offer this otherwise. He stops pacing. Why me? You are the only one here. That is not flattering. It is factual. He exhales sharply, almost a laugh. You travel across interstellar space, and the only human you find is the maintenance guy arguing with his reactor. Your technical proficiency is notable. Bernard would disagree. She studies him, ears shifting minutely. We have faced extinction before, she says. Our oceans crystallized, our atmosphere thinned. Another species offered us survival through integration. And we accepted, and you don't regret it. Regret is inefficient. We endure. He shakes his head. That's not an answer. It is the only honest one. Gloria interrupts softly, core temperature rising. Daniel glances at the display. The star's radiation flux has increased again. Valles lifts one hand slightly. The fluctuation smooths. You make that look easy, he says. It is not effortless. It is simply familiar. He lowers himself back into the chair. If I say yes, he says slowly, I leave humanity behind. Biologically, my memories. Intact, my terrible jokes. Unavoidable, he huffs a quiet laugh despite himself. And if I say no, you will remain human and die with the station. Yes, the word is gentle, absolute. He stares at his hands, grease under the nails. Small scars across the knuckles, evidence of a species that builds fragile homes in hostile places and calls it bravery. You're asking me to trade everything I am? He says. I am offering you the chance to become more than extinction. He looks up at her. That's a very poetic sales pitch. I have had time to refine it. Despite the weight pressing against his ribs, he smiles faintly. Do you at least provide an orientation manual? So you've grown new ears. A beginner's guide. We provide guidance, workshops, if necessary. He laughs again, softer this time, and the sound steadies him. Beyond the hull, the star swells incrementally, indifferent to debate. Daniel meets her gaze. How long do I have to decide? Vales's elongated ears angle toward the distant hum of the reactor, toward the rising radiation, toward the subtle tremor of a system nearing its limit. Not long, she says. The star expands again. Daniel watches the radiation readings climb in steady increments, like a countdown that has decided subtlety is overrated. The colony vibrates under the pressure, metal ticking and contracting in uneasy rhythm. So, he says, arms folded, no pressure. Valles stands across from him in the reactor chamber. Her elongated ears are angled slightly forward, catching fluctuations in the magnetic field the way he once caught distant music through cheap speakers. The window for safe integration narrows, she says. I was afraid you'd say something like that. You never say, take your time, Daniel, have a snack. You have not eaten in 11 hours. That is not the point. Another tremor runs through the station. A warning flashes red. Bernard emits a low, offended groan. Daniel rests a hand against the reactor housing. Easy, he murmurs. You've done your best. Core containment will fail within 9 cycles, Valles says. He nods slowly. The fear is still there, but it no longer paralyses him. It feels cleaner now, like a sharp tool instead of a crushing weight. I recorded a final log, he says. Addressed to anyone who might drift by the ashes someday. I tried to sound heroic. I mostly complained about maintenance budgets. That is consistent with your character. Thank you, I think. He turns to her fully. If I do this, there's no going back. Correct. No waking up at 3 in the morning missing bad coffee and worse decisions. You may still make poor decisions. That's reassuring. The station lurches. Overhead lights flicker. Gloria's voice wavers. Structural integrity compromised. Daniel exhales. Okay, he says quietly. Let's do it. Valles steps closer. For the first time since she arrived, there is something almost fragile in her stillness. You choose freely. I choose not to be vaporized, he replies, then softer, and I choose to trust you. Her ears tilt, and something unspoken passes between them. She lifts her hands, not to touch him, but to align with him. The air feels charged, not electrically but fundamentally, as if the fabric of space has leaned in to observe. You will feel pain, she says. I expected as much. If I wake up glowing, I'm blaming you. The first sensation is heat beneath his skin. Not burning, rewriting. He gasps as something microscopic and vast moves through him. He feels his heartbeat stutter, then expand into a rhythm layered with unfamiliar harmonics. Data floods his awareness. Magnetic fields whisper. Radiation hums like distant choirs. He hears Bernard not as a machine, but as oscillating energy held in careful tension. Okay, he breathes, voice shaking. That's new. His spine arches as his neural pathways reconfigure. Memories flicker, childhood, training, laughter in crowded corridors now empty. For a terrible instant he fears they are dissolving. They are not. They settle rearranged but intact like books moved to stronger shelves. The pain peaks bright and total. He would scream, but the sound transforms into something else. A layered resonance that vibrates through the chamber. Then it recedes. Silence follows. He is kneeling. The reactor's hum is no longer background noise. It is texture. The star outside pulses against his awareness, each flare a luminous ripple across his perception. He lifts his hands slowly. They look the same, mostly. A strand of hair falls across his face. He brushes it aside and feels something different along the side of his head. Longer, sensitive, alive with faint currents, he exhales a stunned laugh. Well, that's aerodynamic. Valles watches him carefully. How do you perceive? He closes his eyes. I can hear the magnetic field, he says. It's off by a fraction near the north conduit. She glances toward the reactor. Correct. And the star, he continues softly. It's loud. Grief hits him then, sharp and unexpected. Not fear of death, he has stepped beyond that, but a farewell. To corridors, to human voices, to the simple certainty of being one thing. He opens his eyes. I'm still me, he says. Yes, he stands slowly. The station shudders violently, cracks spider across a distant viewport. Time to depart, Valles says. He looks once around the chamber. Goodbye, Bernard. The reactor pulses in unstable reply. Valles steps to his side. Fold space opens not as a doorway, but as a shift in alignment. Daniel feels the gravitational harmonics the way she described, currents waiting to be tuned. Any tips, he asks, do not resist the resonance. That's your advice, go with the cosmic flow. It is effective. The hull ruptures somewhere deep in the colony. Air screams into vacuum. Daniel focuses. He reaches outward, not with hands, but with the expanded lattice of his mind. He finds the harmonic frequency Valles holds and aligns with it. Space bends. The dying colony collapses behind them, swallowed by stellar fire. For a fleeting moment he perceives it entirely, every corridor, every memory, then it is gone. They emerge into quiet between stars. Daniel staggers, then steadies. The universe feels vast in a way it never did before. Not empty, alive with currents, pathways, possibility. He turns to Valles. So, he says, touching one elongated ear experimentally, do these come in different sizes, or am I stuck with the standard model? She studies him, and this time her smile is unmistakable. They will grow with you. He considers that. Growth. Change, not abandonment, but continuation. Far behind them, a star completes its transformation. Ahead, space unfolds in intricate, luminous routes only he can now perceive. I suppose, he says quietly, humanity always wanted to reach the stars. You have, she replies. He nods once. The grief remains, but it no longer anchors him. It propels him. Show me how to listen, he says. And together, attuned to the deep harmonics of the cosmos, they move forward, no longer alone, no longer divided, carrying the memory of one world into the endless resonance of another.